we were just making fun of Jake Tapper, which is it's always a good day to make fun of Jake Tapper. And we were talking about, with Donald Trump being the oldest man elected, being unable to walk in a straight line. I don't know if you all saw that video when he laid out the red carpet, literally for war criminal Vladimir Putin, and he applauded him. He just couldn't walk in a straight line. A man who's fallen asleep publicly, even at Pope Francis's funeral. A man who says, "Who hired Jerome Powell?" And they said, "You did, sir." He goes, "Oh, a person who's been caught on camera literally asking, "When am I signing?" before he signs it. That man today invited President Zelensky of Ukraine, and unlike last time, he wore a suit, but he also brought backup. He brought the European Avengers because he was going to make sure that he was not going to get humiliated or berated by two little puppies. No disrespect to puppies, and I'm talking about Marco Rubio and JD Vance. And although it went a bit nicer, what was more concerning is what Trump rambled about. And what Trump rambled about was not about, ending Russia's occupation of Ukraine or Israel's occupation of Gaza and the West Bank, or the fact that, Putin is a war criminal and interfered, or, the dwindling poll numbers, or, the economy, which isn't looking good, or, the spike in measles, or the Epstein files. It was Festivus. And he rambled on and on about press coverage. And then he then also talked about mail-in voting. And we could laugh at it, and we will. But what was really concerning, in addition to his attacks on mail-in voting, and this is going to be tied to the quote of the framing of today, is to Zelensky, he said the following. I'm going to quote him. "During the war, you can't have elections? Oh, so let me just see. 3.5 years from me, if we happen to be in a way with somebody, no more elections. That's good." He said that. I think, Allison, that's the greatest takeaway from today. And there's many, we'll get to them. But he is literally telling you, in addition to the gerrymandering, in addition to attacking mail-in voting, war. During war, you can't have election. That's good. As the National Guard is terrorizing people 20 minutes away from me in D.C. and terrorizing people in L.A., this dude literally is telling you his supervillain plan. If I'm exaggerating, take me off the ledge. Allison.
I can't talk you off the ledge. I'm on the ledge with you, my friend. I like that you said no offense to puppies, because I had this vision in my head of Kristi Noem busting into the room, yelling, "Did somebody say puppies?" That South Park episode was, whew. Anyway, that was my big takeaway as well. That was what stood out to me the most, was when he said wartime. Oh, you can't have elections? Oh, 3.5 years away for me. That, I mean, I know a lot of people are saying distraction and all this other stuff, but that is full-blown authoritarian shit. And because you and I have been saying for a long time now, and so have a lot of our, colleagues and friends that we've had on from independent and former mainstream media, saying that, he ran during his campaign on the idea of going after the enemy from within. And now he's sending National Guard and military troops to cities, mostly where Black populations and Hispanic populations are. And I think that his plan to declare a war, I mean, he's already used the words invasion. Stephen
Yep.
Miller has used the word insurrection when it comes to
Yep.
Los Angeles. He talks about the invasion from the border. To justify some of these emergency powers that he's consolidated for himself. And a lot of courts are seeing through it. It hasn't gone to the Supreme Court yet. We'll see what they say about it. I don't have a lot of trust in the Supreme Court right now. But to say that, we could be at war and that he'd be able to cancel elections, that's the frightening takeaway, I think, from today. And of course, the attacks on mail-in voting. And as we all know, even like Judge Pryor, the chief judge of the 11th Circuit, one of the most conservative guys, real good friends with Clarence Thomas, has said when Mark Meadows wanted to move his case out of Fulton County to a federal court, Judge Pryor in the 11th Circuit said, "No, you, the chief of staff, nor the president have any role whatsoever in election oversight." And so I'm sure that this executive order he's about to sign to ban mail-in voting or whatever will, it'll be sued. Somebody will sue immediately. Maybe, somebody like Mark Elias or other voting rights groups. I'm assuming we'll see a lot of lawsuits against that. But what happens to it once it gets to the Supreme Court? Again, I'm not sure with the Supreme. I was like, no way they'll give a president immunity and put him above the law, and then look
There you
look
go.
what happened. That was something I was very wrong about.
I
Um,
say, that, and I think going back to that Supreme Court, because eventually the buck will stop at the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court for Donald Trump and Republicans very deliberately, it's been a 40-year campaign, knowing that they can't win the people. They can't win based on ideas, so they will just have judicial activism. It's all projection because they blamed liberals of doing this, and they realize, okay, if we could get lifetime appointments for six or seven right-wing reeks wearing wearing black robes, we could do anything we want from the bench. And another story that people haven't followed is, through the emergency docket, this Supreme Court has rubber stamped all of Donald Trump's, emergency actions, right? Through the back door and through essentially without giving any reasoning, they just affirm all the illegal stuff he's doing. Like, oh, dismantling the Department of Education, just for example. But they didn't allow Joe Biden to use his executive authority to forgive student loans. So for Joe Biden, folks, they said, no, 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 you're the executive. You have to go through Congress. But for Donald Trump, for a congressionally created department, oh, you can unilaterally do whatever you want because they believe in the unitary executive theory that the president should be king. And they also believe in a type of white Christian nationalism. So much like you, Allison, when I saw that last year, I was like, okay, they're going to go in his favor, but it'll be moderate. I really thought that. And then I read the ruling and I'm like, we're effed. Like, because that ruling, folks, that gives the president absolute immunity for actions done within his executive authority, that was not for President Biden. That was for Donald Trump. And then bring in the receipts. Donald Trump said in October, and Allison already just quoted him. In October, he said, and I've always brought this receipt out since October. He quoted Hitler saying, I will unleash the National Guard and military against the enemy from within. Lo and behold, folks, look at DC, look at LA. He also said some more receipts. I want to terminate the Constitution for a day. He also said, I want to be dictator for a day. He has also praised Putin, MBS, and their broad, expansive powers. He has attacked the free press, calling them the enemy of the state. That's Stalin's language, right? He also has joked and then later stopped joking about becoming president for a third time, which is unconstitutional, and then talked about, oh, there's ways to get it done. And then we saw the clip where he was talking to his base before the election. Vote for me this one last time. I promise you won't have to vote again. And then also, remember, he posted that quote from Napoleon, that
mhm,
authoritarian quote from Napoleon. So I'm sitting here thinking, on top of all that, plus the fact that he incited a violent insurrection the last time he lost, and the fact that he pardoned the 1,600 insurrectionists and has given some of them jobs in the DOJ. Allison, why aren't people taking this more serious? Like, what more do you need to see? It's like literally he's telling you, and not just telling you, Allison, he has showed you.
mhm. Yeah, it's kind of a mystery to me. Although I guess the mystery of corporate media isn't so much of a mystery as to why it's kind of being normalized. But to go back to the immunity thing, you talked about. I thought what they would do is say that his official acts are immune, which is already how it is. Like, but I thought maybe they would put that in writing as some sort of a thing, like kind of how Congress has the speech or debate privilege that they can't be questioned judicially about stuff that they do or say in furtherance of their jobs as members of Congress. I thought that would be the extent of it. But it went further. When you say absolute immunity, first of all, unofficial acts are given presumed immunity. And the burden is on the government or the plaintiff to prove that that one of those acts is not immune from prosecution. Those are unofficial acts. And then we took it a step further. The thing that Amy Coney Barrett disagreed with, which was that evidence of can't be used in court if the evidence could be presumed immune. So, like, if he was going to get a bribe, like if he gave somebody an ambassadorship in exchange for a blowjob, I don't know, whatever, you have to take the ambassador appointment out of the equation. So then you're unable to prove that there was a quid pro quo because you can't talk about the quid. You can only talk about the quo. And you need both elements in order to be able to prove bribery. So It went way further than I thought it was gonna go, which is why I have no trust in the Supreme Court with what they might do with elections. Because as I said, Judge Pryor was like, "Sorry, Mark Meadows, you can't take this to federal court because you and the president, the executive branch has no, it's the states that administer their elections." And a lot of people have brought up that point to say, "Don't worry about it because the states are in charge of the elections." However, there are many red states that just by announcing this, Donald Trump is signaling to his red state governors and red state legislatures, hey, I'm going to ban mail in voting. Be on my side. It's going to be interesting to see where the rubber meets the road with this, because you and I have long talked about, for example, in the big billionaire bailout bill, whether or not these Republicans would disenfranchise their own constituents in order to go along with what Donald Trump said. I said we may see a reckoning where some of the Republicans in Congress are like, you don't have to get elected again, but I do, bro. And they all ended up bending the knee. Now, with regard to this, canceling mail-in voting in any state, first of all, you're disenfranchising the entire military. Whether they're overseas or not, you still have to mail in vote. If you're, from Mississippi and you're stationed at Nellis or Lockland, you get to mail in vote in Mississippi because that's where your home is. And that goes away. And many Republicans vote by mail, including Donald Trump, by the way.
Yep. Yep.
And so they would actually be shooting themselves in the foot. So in this case, when it comes to not just kowtowing to Trump over their constituents, they're going to have to sacrifice several Republican votes for mail-in voting in their own states in order to get his agenda on whatever the executive order for canceling mail-in voting looks like. And we also know he's going to pressure the Postmaster General to fuck up mail-in voting for everybody, and no matter what state you're in, because we send our ballots in through the federal mail. So we'll see how that ends up happening. So I understand that he doesn't have a role to play in election oversight, and I understand that many courts, including conservative ones, have ruled that the states administer elections, but that doesn't stop states, red states, and state legislatures and governors who kiss his ass on a daily basis from doing that too, at their own peril. They do so many things at their own peril to kowtow to Trump and his dictatorship and his authoritarian whatever, that I wouldn't put this past them either. Because, you asked me 2 years ago, I'd have been like, no way will Republicans vote against the infrastructure money that's coming to their towns and rural communities. No way will they vote for a bill that'll end up closing their hospitals because they're gutting Medicaid. No way will they vote to gut Medicaid. Even Josh Hawley was against it until he wasn't anymore. So I don't see them standing up against anything that this administration wants to do, including actual mail-in votes that would end up hurting these Republicans, state Republicans, in their own elections.
That might be the one redeeming grace is their incompetence, recklessness, and overreach. I had Mike Madrid on earlier. Mike Madrid, I recommend people listen to that conversation. One of the co-founders of Lincoln Project and former Republican who has spent 30 years really kind of researching Latino voters and the Latino electorate. And he said even the gerrymandering that, look, folks, look, it's happening right in front of you. Donald Trump looks at the poll numbers. He's at 38. He's negative double digits on the economy, on inflation, on trade wars. He's negative on the immigration. The big, beautiful bill is a disaster. It's like negative 25. The Epstein files, he's negative double digits. They realize they're going to lose the House. And they actually might now lose the Senate because you got strong contenders running. You got Roy Cooper in North Carolina, Sherrod Brown running.
Sherrod Brown joined today.
Sherrod. I always call him Sherrod for some reason. Sherrod Brown running, and he's great. And the economy is going to get worse in the next 6 months. So he realizes, okay, and we've always been thinking about this. Like, if you have a big, beautiful bill, your signature piece of legislation, and you're negative 25, you should be freaked out. Why aren't these Republicans freaked out? And then Donald Trump, a few weeks ago, if you recall, and we've been following it on the left hook, they said, oh, electoral reform. And I said, watch for that space. Electoral reform means gerrymandering and rigging the votes. And look what happened. He has now bullied Texas Republicans to gerrymander. They're openly telling you we're going to gerrymander. Why? To get 5 seats. Don't even hide it. Now J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are bullying Ohio, but Ohio is like, yo, bro, hold on. This might not actually work out. In addition to the gerrymandering, he's unleashed the National Guard like he promised. So he's normalizing the presence of the military on U.S. streets. And then in the last week, mail-in voting. And specifically, last week, it was Putin. Putin got in his ear and said, you should get rid of mail-in voting. No other country does it, even though every other country does it. America does it. You voted in it, and Putin's the worm ear, right?
Russia does it.
Russia does it. The worm ear is put in there by Putin, and it all goes to show you, right? When Mike said this might be a backlash and an overreach, because Mike said, following even just the Latino trends, he says the gerrymandering in Texas alone, what Republicans are banking on, and what Mike and I had this conversation. What Miller and Bannon have said is we just need to win over the majority of whites, and we peel off enough Latinos and black voters, and we rule for the next 40 years. Bannon said this 10 years ago. The flaw in that thinking is that they think that the base will be unified. They're convinced that the MAGA base will stay together, that there will be no cracks and fissures. And what we're witnessing are cracks and fissures. And Mike said, this is not a gerrymander. This actually might be a dummy mander, because 3 of those districts are heavily Latino that actually went for Beto. And next year, Allison, he says, if things go as bad as we think they're going to go bad, their gerrymandering might actually end up, wait for it, dooming them in Texas. And also these mail-in ballots, like you said, will end up screwing them. And also, you're going to get the Medicaid hits, and the economy is going to go down, and Epstein files. So in a strange way, folks, and this is me being super hopeful, even though it's super dangerous, as they are openly, folks, this is not conjecture, they're openly doing this, attacking mail-in voting, which is legal and constitutional, which, like as Allison said, Russia does it, US does it, Donald Trump does it, gerrymandering openly to steal seats. How do we know? Because they said it. And flirting with martial law. Maybe, just maybe, they might end up screwing themselves literally screwing themselves and their careers and their majorities, while also screwing our democracy. But I yield the floor to you, Allison.
Yeah, back in the 2020 election, I called that the Longshanks plan, because if you remember in Braveheart,
I do. That's a deep cut. Well done.
when Longshanks ordered the archers to fire at the scrum in the middle, and somebody said, "But sir, won't we hit our own men?" And he goes, "Oh, yes, but we'll hit theirs as well." And I think they were banking on COVID killing more Democrats than Republicans, which is why they kept the PPE from us and didn't report the numbers and all that. But I call it that the Longshanks thing, and that's what we're looking at here. And with regard to the redistricting, we have to remember the Senate isn't touched by redrawn maps. Those are statewide elections. So
Yep.
we also now, with these new announcements about people running for the Senate, and we were looking at the Senate map in 2026 saying it's an impossibility, but maybe it's not. Maybe we can also flip the Senate if they fuck the House up bad enough with their gerrymandering. And also, I wanted to just kind of also make sure everybody understands the Democrats returning to Texas. The Texas Democrats are returning. They're going to get their quorum. The Republicans will. They'll vote the maps in. They have to return in order to put the legal framework together to sue for the maps. Yeah. And California and I think others like New York and Illinois are making our redistricting based on whether or not they approve their maps in Texas. So we can't go forward until they go forward. At least that's what the Democrats have said. I want them to go forward regardless. But that's just me, and I want them to go for the whole.
I agree.
And
You and
the
me.
whole enchilada, not just 5 seats. I don't that 5 for 5 thing. I'm like, go for all 9 here in California. Let's go 52-0, 52 pickup. We used to call it in the house.
And the Republicans in California are freaked out by this. The Republicans in California, by the way, are hesitant to jump on to this gerrymandering plan, and so are the Ohio Republicans. And JD Vance is trying to strong arm them because they realize, oh shit, this might actually backfire. The problem with Texas and Texas and Florida is it's usually the laboratory for the most extreme right-wing plan, and then they nationalize it, and you have Abbott and DeSantis who still believe, folks, in the Julius Caesar stabby post-Trump era that they will be the king. So Texas and Florida are going to go all in. But I do think, Allison, these Republicans in other states, there's a reason why you haven't heard them publicly jump on this, because they realize they might be eliminated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then somebody in the comments I saw as they flew by there. By the way, thanks everybody for joining us. If you,
1,000 people, thank you all.
please subscribe to MullerSheWrote.com Substack and the Left Hook. It's free to subscribe because we're bad capitalists.
Terrible capitalism.
If you can swing it, there is a voluntary option. All the content's free, but there's a voluntary option to kick in some money. We'd appreciate it, but not necessary to read our content or view our content because, again, we're terrible capitalists. But somebody asked, so what are our options? And I just kind of want to remind everybody that voter suppression on this scale is not new, and we've been fighting it for decades. They didn't want women to vote. They didn't want Black people to vote. They've been gerrymandering forever. If you remember that census thing from that Hollander guy or whatever his name was, who said that they want to pack and crack all these districts and completely dilute the vote. That we saw it, we're seeing it happen in Louisiana and Alabama and Arkansas. You know, they pack and crack these districts and dilute the power of the Black voters in those districts. This isn't new. We've always been. I think we're right now by default 7 to 10 points down on the general ballot because of the voter suppression. They try to pass laws, ID laws, voter ID laws. They try to make it impossible for people on tribal lands to vote because if you use a P.O. box instead of a physical address, then you can't vote. They've been passing these voter suppression laws for a long time, and we've been fighting against them, and sometimes we win. And so I want to encourage people to continue to vote, make plans to vote, talk to the people in your neighborhoods and your communities to make sure that they have plans to vote, offer rides to people to vote. We just have to continue to do everything we can to make sure as many ballots are cast as possible in the face of this kind of voter suppression. It has been ratcheted up, obviously, in the first Trump administration and especially in the second Trump administration. But I just want everybody to remember that we have won before, and we've won big, even with all of the voter suppression tactics and laws passed in these red states and tried to be perpetrated by this administration or this particular president in the past. We've defeated them. We've done it so far this year. I mean, we're about average 15 points ahead of where we were before in a ton of local races. We saw what happened in Wisconsin. We saw what happened in Florida 1 and Florida 6, where we made it with 22 points. So what happened in Rhode Island and Iowa and San Antonio, the mayoral race, some of these school board races in Nebraska. We are kicking ass with the current voter suppression that's on the table. And we just have to continue that fight and that focus and that level of organizing at the grassroots level and at our communities locally. So when folks ask what are our options, that's it. Those are our options. Help California in their ballot initiative election that's going to be coming on the ballot in November as soon as the state house and the state senate pass the resolution to put it on the ballot and put it before the voters. And that's one of the main differences between California and Texas. Don't poke the bear. We ask for consent from the voters as to whether they want to do this or not. We don't just steal people's votes like that, like they're doing in Texas. This is a response. And, you know, I've long compared it to an assault. If someone assaults me and I punch them, we both aren't guilty of assault. Only the assaulter is, and this is an assault on voting rights, and so we're punching back, and it's self-defense, and it's something that's necessary and has to be done. So, if for those asking, what do we do? That would be my answer.
That's a fantastic answer. I want to remind people also in 2020, the Supreme Court made it almost impossible for people to vote also and said, oh, no, you have to go in person. Remember that? That was during a pandemic, before a vaccine, while these Supreme Court justices, these frauds, were able to send in their ballots. Remember that, Allison? And in some places, such as the battleground states in Wisconsin, where there were a lot of Democrats and Black voters, they said, no, you have to be in person. And guess what happened, folks? People during a pandemic, without a vaccine, were in person with huge ass lines. They voted. Joe Biden flipped 5 states. He still has a record number of votes, more so than any other president. Donald Trump got a lot of votes as well. Donald Trump has never crossed 50%. He's always been unpopular, and now he's at 38. He's the most unpopular president in the first 7 months since Donald Trump. The economy is going to go bad, folks. I hate to say it, but it's going to go bad. Epstein files, it's bipartisan support. that wants more release of Epstein's files. He's negative double digits. He's old. He's rattled. When it comes to Russia and Ukraine, folks, that used to be a strong issue for Republicans. Now Republicans are plus 10 on sending Ukraine weapons and financial aid, and they're down on Russia, especially. You saw when Putin visited, they went live to Fox. And the Fox correspondent, they were shocked by what they saw. And the Fox correspondent said, Putin came here to America and steamrolled Trump. You're seeing Rupert Murdoch with the stabby with the Wall Street Journal, leak about the Epstein files. He's -5 on immigration. He's +1 on crime, but he's going to overreach. He already overreached. Just wait 2 weeks, folks. My prediction is when more and more people see videos and photos of these thugs, these Trump Gestapo in the nation's capital and what they're doing to innocent folks, he's going to go negative. So this is all bad for Donald Trump. You got to vote. But in addition to voting, folks, I say you have to fight. You finally have to fight. And we talked about this before, where DNC chair Ken Martin, I think 2 weeks ago, said, we're finally going to we're going to fight fire with fire. We're no longer going to bring a knife to a gunfight. He's getting there, Allison. He's getting there. But I think, the time to civility is over. Economic anxiety is over. Hillbilly elegy is over. I'm done. You still support Trump. You're an enemy of democracy. You're an enemy of people of color. You're an enemy of immigrants. I don't need to reach out to you. I don't need to convince you. I'm going to rally the majority, and I'm going to get in the caravan, and we're going to move forward. I'm going to mock you. I'm going to ridicule you. I'm going to humiliate you. I'm going to use every legal tactic in my book to get the majority, and then inshallah the door will be open. If you come around and say, shit, man, I'm so sorry, I effed up, come on in. But I'm not wasting my time. And I recommend everyone now, don't waste your time. South Park energy, right? Mock him and ridicule him. And Gavin Newsom, who effed up a couple of months ago, and I'm going to call him out for effing up, because he, like so many other Democrats, said, let me throw woke under the bus. Let me throw transgender people under the bus. Let me have Charlie Kirk and friggin' Steve Bannon on my podcast and concede to them. Where did that get you, folks? Maybe listen to me and Allison. Where did that get you? And now he finally saw, oh shit, that got me nothing. Because if you give a bully $1, he'll come back for 10. So now he's straight up mocking them, ridiculing them every day. He's tripled down. He doesn't give a shit. And guess what? Support's gone up for Newsom. So we need them to be proactive, man. Proactive. And I don't think it's gerrymandering. I agree with you. Gerrymandering is terrible. But I would rebrand it as, if Republicans are going to steal, take back our votes. Take back our democracy, right? And you could brand it like that, and you could gerrymander the shit out of them in New York, Illinois, California. Like, if Democratic governors play this game hardball like Republicans do, Republicans are losing the House. And like you said, they might lose the Senate. But check this out. Again, why this is so dangerous. This is a post from Donald Trump. And you said people are fighting back. This is Senator Patty Murray. I'm going to read you what Trump posted, folks. Patty Murray said, just another totally unhinged official public statement from Trump, who is desperate to appeal to foreign dictators and silence Americans. But he doesn't dictate how we run our elections. Washington state votes by mail in every election. Will keep it that way. Thanks. And forgive me, I have to do this. This is Donald Trump's post for those who haven't read it. I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots, and also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate. I don't know why he's quoting, but he quotes, very expensive and seriously controversial, all caps, voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as to who won, who lost the election. We're now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. Complete bullshit. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered, all caps. We will begin the effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before, all caps, by signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 26 midterm elections. Yada, 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 yada. And then the final rant is all caps for no reason. He says, mail-in scam, all caps. And then the next 5 lines, all caps. Elections can never be honest with mail-in ballots voting, and everybody, in particular the Democrats, knows this. The Republican Party would fight like hell to bring honesty and integrity back to elections. The mail-in disaster must end now. Remember, without fair and honest election, the strong and powerful voters, you don't have a semblance of a country. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Mother effer, why do you keep writing that? We know you're the president. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. That's an exact quote, folks. An exact quote from his post.
That's why I love Newsom signing off the same way. And I'm with you on Newsom. And, I want to say, at first, when he was throwing trans people under the bus and throwing woke under the bus and bringing Bannon and Charlie Kirk onto his show, I was giving him shit for it on social media. And a lot of people were like, why do Democrats always go after their own? Why do they always circular firing squad, et cetera? And it's because pushback like that,
There you go.
constructive feedback works.
There you
And
go.
now he's not doing that anymore. And instead, he's doing this amazing thing in California. So that's why. Now, will I do it 3 months before a general election against the only candidate running against Donald Trump? No, I'm not going to do that. But will I do it in an off year against a governor who's not going to be running again, but may run in 2028 for the presidential campaign because I want him to do something better and I want him to be better? Yeah, I will do that. It does work because now he's abandoned that, hasn't he? And so I just want to kind of point that out. So that's some of the work we can do. Regarding Ken Martin, he actually had a really good interview recently with Jess Craven from Chop Wood, Carry Water. And he was willing to answer all of her questions. So if you get a chance to check out that interview, I would. I think we're going to start seeing some now, especially with the California resolution to put that, to put that to the voters on the ballot, the redistricting,
Jess is
the
coming on later this
response.
week.
I think
Jess is coming out later this week. I'll ask her about it. If you want to join us, let us know. We're just planning it. It's going to be the Wednesday or Thursday.
yeah, we'll hear more about that, I think. So that's a really good interview. And then somebody asked, I just have to say, I saw something fly by there on the comments. Anyone notice how tired we all look and it's only Monday? Yeah. I'm going to say this. I don't think I've announced this anywhere yet, but I'm going to be starting a new weekly video podcast
Oh,
here on my Substack, Mueller, She Wrote. Again, free to subscribe. Subscribe, please. And it'll be on the YouTube channel, on the MSW Media, where Daily Beans is on the YouTube channel there. And I just want to say I will not be wearing makeup. I refuse to pay the glam tax because I'm a woman. You will not see me wearing makeup. I will probably be wearing my jammies. I don't fucking care. I don't like video, but I have to do it because that's where the industry's going. And so I'm going to start a new weekly video news podcast. It's going to be called The Breakdown. So I hope
oh,
people.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And you know what? Pamela Anderson, God bless her. Look, she did her entire press tour for Naked Gun. She's like, I don't care. Even when her Oscar campaign last year, when she was in The Last Showgirl, she did her entire campaign without makeup. She goes, I'm too old. I don't care. And you know what? People are getting used to it. They're like, yeah, you don't have to.
It's the We Do Not Care Club. Have you seen this woman? We do not care. We do not care if you don't like our midriff shirt and we're 51 years old. We do not care if you do not like the fact that I will not wear makeup on my new weekly video news podcast. Have you seen this woman? She's
No,
viral. She's amazing. And she's talking about women, like menopausal women. It's called the We Do Not Care Club. You must check out her videos.
no, and plus, as someone said, Allison, you don't even need makeup. I thought you were wearing makeup right now. I was up at 2:40. Someone mentioned I was up at 3 a.m. today, 2:45 a.m. Interviewing Terrell Starr, who's in Ukraine. Strongly recommend people watch that interview. Terrell's a expert on Ukraine, in Ukraine right now, a black man who can like literally connects the dots from a Black American expert's point of view, connecting, imperialism with media propaganda and racism and white supremacy. And I strongly recommend people listen to that. But I look like death because I have like 400 kids, so it's always going to be this way. I'm never wearing makeup. Even when I wear makeup, even when I was on MSNBC and CNN, they put on makeup, I still looked exhausted, right? And then I always tell, I tell my wife also like goes makeup free. She doesn't need it, but like she barely does it. I'm like, how do women survive? Like the fact that women have to like live. If I was a woman, I'd be dead. I'd be dead at the age of 22 because I had like hair, nail, makeup, like accessorizing, plus working, plus raising children. I'm like, I'd just die. I would die. So hats off to women who have to do all this stuff and all this bullshit, double standards. Forget the makeup, change it up. Change it up. I think the young generation will embrace you. People are wearing pumps now, folks. Good. Sneakers has been normalized. Good. I looked at heels. I'm like, yeah, heels are hot, but how do you walk? And my wife's like, it's terrible. It's so
awful.
painful. Yeah, my wife refuses to do it. I'm like, she goes, do you want me to wear heels? I'm like, I want you to like be able to walk and like chase after our children. So folks, that's really good news that Allison is doing that. And we need 10 toes down, folks. I kept Allison a bit longer than I thought she would. She's on she's been on a spree right now. And she just jumped on. But I want really people to pay attention to what he said today. Take it literally and seriously. Do not get distracted. This is a fascist playbook. This is authoritarianism. They have already normalized the National Guard terrorizing LA and DC. I've tried my best to tell people this is not normal. None of this is normal. The fact that the military is out here in DC, the fact that there's tanks rolling right across from the Amtrak is not normal. The fact that the president of the United States just lied and got a lie from Putin that he repeated and is attacking mail-in voting is not normal. And the fact that the press had him today and didn't question him about this shows you the failure of corporate press, right? So much bullshit that they could have called him out on and they didn't. So that's why you need independent media. And we have to be completely informed. There's more of us than there are of them. We have the majority. I'm glad Allison brought these the receipts about the elections that we won. In Wisconsin, Elon Musk poured more than $20 million, $20 million for that Supreme Court, Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Double-digit loss, folks. So I always want to remind people there's more of us than there are of them, and if we unite, no matter what they do, we might still barely win. But that's not enough. You also need fighters. And the reason why we criticize the Democrats is to get them to this moment, which they should have been at 5 years ago. Even Pete Buttigieg, you saw the pushback from Democrats, and he's like, oh shit, my answer in Gaza won't work on 2025. And you're seeing with Mamdani, they're like, oh shit, we can't get away just like derailing Mamdani, who's going to be the next mayor, right? Elisa Slotkin.
Even if you say something like, hey, those kind of policies won't fly in my district in Kansas, but they do in New York, what we should be paying attention to is his ground game and how he talks to voters about things that really matter to them. Like, that's all you got to do. You don't got to endorse free bus rides if you're not on a free bus platform. I am, but I'm also for full government healthcare. But that's just me. Uh,
You
so,
crazy flaming communist, you. How dare
so,
you?
so talk, we're fucking grown-ups. We're not 9. You can tell us that there's nuance and not everyone can have that. Mamdani's platform can't win in every city across America, but it can in New York. And I support him. Like, why? Like, why can't you, they're sometimes still doing politics like it's 2010 and it makes no sense to me. But like when I talked to Randy Weingarten, who's been on the DNC for like a zillion years, she just recently left, but she's like, that is the recipe, the sauce, Mamdani sauce. That's what we need to be learning from and looking at. You don't have to specifically agree with rent freezes wherever you live if that's not going to fly in your particular district and your constituents wouldn't want that. Bernie got a rating from the NRA for a ton of years because Vermonters love their guns. But he's one of the most progressive dudes that we know, right? Like, that not everything flies everywhere. And this purity shit has to stop from the voters, but it also has to stop at the top. We have to, the weird dancing around I don't know if I agree with the Democratic Socialist Party or whatever. Like, you don't have to, man, but you gotta figure out what he did in order to run away with that nomination in the biggest city, one of the biggest cities in the United States. It seems dumb to me that they would think that we aren't smart enough to know the difference. And it's kind
And
of
Hakeem Jeffries just a couple of days ago, when given yet another opportunity, gave Andrew Cuomo credit and said, well, Andrew Cuomo has a good point against Mamdani. It's like, read the room, read the tea leaves, forget your corporate donors, forget APAC, see where the party is shifting. And for the love of God, this is political malpractice. You have to embrace this guy. He keeps winning. He now leads all the other candidates. He has young Jewish voter supports. He's winning across all demographics. And look at his message. Maybe that's the recipe, but they still can't let go of that nut. And folks, that's why you need people like us from the outside pushing them, because these people respond to pressure, to votes, to money. And the Democratic establishment right now is hemorrhaging. And that's why you've seen a shift in Newsom. That's why you've seen Elissa Slotkin try to go on breaking points with Crystal Ball. That's why you saw her with Colbert. That's why you've seen people finally go, oh, is the water warm here? Can we jump in? Okay. So it sucks, but this is what we got to do, folks. Allison, you've been fantastic. Thank you so much. I know it's late. Such good news, folks. Allison's breaking that news that she's having a video. What would you call it? A video show, video podcast. What is it going to be called? Like,
It's video podcast, video news pod. I do 3 political podcasts. I write 100 pages of script. I swim through the news day in and day out, so you don't have to. By the end of the week, I've reported on anywhere from 50 to 100 headlines, and so I'm going to break them down for you weekly on a video show, so that you can get all of the news that you need to get. There's not going to be any Scott Jenningses or any bullshit. No fear, no misogyny, no hate, no rage. It's just going to be the news. I'm going to tell you what percentage of the news was good versus what percentage of the news was bad that week. And it's just going to be a breakdown of everything that I've learned from that week. And I don't have a research team. Nobody works for me. Nobody does my writing for me. I do it all. So I'm in a pretty good spot, I think, to be able to wrap up the news for folks on a weekly basis, so that you can get in, get out in 15, 20 minutes and have all the news that you need.
And also, Daily Beans is her podcast where she breaks down the news with some swear words and humor. You got to subscribe to that. And also, Mueller, She Wrote is the website and the podcast. And you have to subscribe. Like me, she's a terrible capitalist. It's all free. But if you have money, like Allison said, she's independent. And like, a lot of people are shocked by this. I write everything myself. I don't do AI. I don't have assistants. I should. I would love to have an assistant, but I research and write everything, which is why me and Allison look like this. And if there's a new sequel to The Incredibles, I think there's a Incredibles 3 is coming out in 2 years. Edna, we're gonna have an edit. No capes, no makeup. No capes, no makeup. Folks, this has been The Left Hook. This has been Allison Gill from Mueller, She Wrote. If you can, please subscribe. If you have some dollars, give it to Allison. If you have a few left, or give it to me. If not, at least subscribe. It's free. No paywalls. Spread the good word. Spread the news. Be kind. Be decent. Be empathetic. And remember, please, oh please, don't be a fascist. Allison, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, Wash.
Bye.